Today, we solve a problem that has haunted leaders, rulers, and ambitious men throughout the ages. How do you command loyalty when love falters, when trust shatters, and when betrayal lurks at every corner? Imagine a world where your allies betray you, the moment fortune shifts, where loyalty is as fragile as the wind, and where kindness is mistaken for weakness. What if I told you there is a rule, ruthless, eternal, and sharper than any sword, that ensures your power endures when all else fails? There is one truth that separates rulers who endure from those who are swept aside by fortune: the choice between being loved and being feared. Men will praise the kind ruler, they will sing of his virtues, they will smile in his presence. But their love is not loyalty, it is a mask. When the winds of hardship blow, love scatters like leaves in a storm. Affection is bought cheaply and abandoned quickly. A ruler who builds his power upon love is like a man building a fortress of sand. The first tide will wash it away. Fear, however, is stone. It does not shift with the tide. Fear endures in the minds of men long after kindness is forgotten. If you rely on love, you rely on the gratitude of others, and gratitude is weak, fleeting, unreliable. But if you rely on fear, you rely on necessity, and necessity compels obedience when affection cannot. Imagine, for a moment, the subjects of a ruler. When treated kindly, they grow bold, for kindness makes them believe their ruler will forgive any trespass. They stretch his mercy, they test the limits of his patience, and in the end, they grow disobedient. But when the ruler is feared, the very thought of disobedience curdles in their blood. They ask not, "What will my ruler forgive?" but rather, "What punishment awaits me if I falter?" Fear governs their actions before rebellion can even take root. I tell you plainly, a ruler should never rest his security upon the love of his people. Love is a chain held together by the will of others. Fear is a chain you hold in your own hands. Men are fickle. They abandon their benefactors as easily as they betray their friends. But men rarely abandon those they fear, because the cost of disloyalty is too high to risk. You may ask, is it not cruel to rule through fear? But I ask you this: is it not more cruel to invite rebellion through kindness? To let your people believe they may disobey without consequence, only to see chaos tear apart your state? Severity at the right moment spares greater suffering later. To wield fear is not savagery, it is wisdom. Consider the soldier in battle. He may love his commander, but when death surrounds him, love cannot hold his courage steady. Fear, however, fear of punishment, fear of disgrace, fear of failing his ruler, will keep him in line. Even when his heart trembles, fear turns weakness into discipline. Fear turns hesitation into obedience. This is why the wise ruler prefers fear over love, for fear serves even when hearts falter. And yet you must understand the delicate balance. To be feared is not to be hated. Hatred breeds conspiracies. Hatred drives daggers into the dark. But fear, mingled with respect, ensures stability. A ruler must be ruthless enough to be feared, but prudent enough to avoid becoming despised. One swift punishment is remembered longer than 100 acts of mercy. But punishment, if just and calculated, does not breed hatred. It breeds caution, obedience, and stability. History itself testifies to this truth. The rulers who sought to be loved, generous princes, merciful kings, were the first to be abandoned in times of crisis. Their subjects loved them in prosperity, but when famine struck, when enemies invaded, when fortunes shifted, their love turned to blame, and their throne crumbled beneath them. The rulers who endured, who maintained order in the harshest of times, were those who were feared. For fear does not abandon you when the harvest fails, when the treasury runs dry, or when the enemy approaches your gates. Fear compels men to remain, even when every other bond is broken. Understand this well: the love of your people is a gift they choose to give, and they may choose to withdraw it tomorrow, but their fear is yours to command. It does not rely on their will, it relies on your strength. That is why fear is more reliable than love. That is why fear is the foundation upon which power must be built. Mercy is a virtue often praised by the masses and celebrated by poets. They will tell you that a merciful ruler is beloved, that kindness wins the hearts of men, that forgiveness builds loyalty, but such illusions are crafted for the weak, not for those who wish to endure in power. Mercy, when practiced without restraint, does not strengthen a ruler. It weakens him, undermines his authority, and invites betrayal. Excessive kindness is not a shield, but an opening for enemies to strike. Consider the man who forgives every insult, who pardons every offense, who overlooks the disobedience of his subjects. Do his people respect him? No, they grow bold, certain that his hand will never strike. His mercy emboldens their defiance, and each act of leniency plants the seed of rebellion. When men no longer fear consequences, they will take liberties with the ruler's patience until discipline collapses. What began as mercy ends as chaos. To show mercy where severity is required is not kindness, but cruelty. Imagine a city where criminals go unpunished because the ruler wishes to be seen as gentle. At first, the people may cheer his clemency, but soon lawlessness spreads. One thief becomes 10, one act of violence becomes 100. The innocent suffer, order crumbles, and the ruler's authority dissolves into ridicule. What the ruler mistook for compassion becomes the very cause of misery for his people. This is the illusion of mercy. It deceives the ruler into believing he is loved, when in truth he is being exploited. Men take what they can from the merciful, knowing they will not be held to account. Gratitude is short-lived, but the appetite for indulgence is endless. The more mercy you show, the more men expect it. And when you finally attempt severity, they will call you unjust, for you have taught them to despise restraint. A ruler who wishes to maintain order must know when to deny mercy. The execution of one traitor preserves the peace of thousands. The punishment of a handful secures obedience among the rest. Severity, though it may seem harsh, prevents greater suffering. But unchecked mercy, that is the true cruelty, for it allows disorder to grow until it devours the very state. You must understand that the hearts of men are ungrateful by nature. They quickly forget acts of generosity, but they never forget punishment. When you spare a man today, he will expect the same tomorrow. He will test you, push your boundaries, and in time, he will betray you. But if you punish him once, swiftly and decisively, the memory of that severity will guide his behavior for years to come. Fear roots deeper than gratitude ever could. Do not think I speak only of subjects and common men, even those closest to you. Allies, advisors, generals, are corrupted by excessive mercy. Spare a general who fails in his duty, and your army learns that incompetence carries no cost. Forgive a minister who abuses his office, and your court learns that corruption is tolerated. The chain of mercy weakens every link in the structure of power until the entire state collapses beneath the weight of your kindness. Mercy is praised in words, but severity is respected in deeds. Your people will applaud your forgiveness in public, but in private they will despise your weakness. They will praise you as merciful while plotting how to use that mercy against you. They will whisper of your softness. They will doubt your resolve, and they will test your limits until they find the moment to strike. But if you show severity when required, they will not applaud. They will obey, and obedience, not applause, secures your throne. There is a time for mercy, yes, but only when it strengthens your position. To spare a man who poses no threat may win goodwill, but to spare a man who threatens your power is to invite your own ruin. Mercy must be calculated, not automatic. It must serve the ruler, not the subject. When wielded with wisdom, it can secure loyalty. When wielded carelessly, it destroys authority. Thus, the wise ruler does not chase the illusion of mercy. He understands that to appear merciful at all times is a weakness that breeds rebellion. He knows that excessive kindness is not a virtue but a vice, a poison that eats away at discipline, respect, and order. Mercy without limit does not win hearts, it loses control. Severity is a weapon. Like the sword, it must be unsheathed only when necessary, but when it is drawn, it must strike with precision and finality. A ruler who punishes without calculation is reckless, and a ruler who delays punishment is weak. But the ruler who understands how to wield severity with purpose, swiftly, decisively, and only once, commands obedience that endures long after the blade has been sheathed. Men remember punishment far longer than they remember mercy, yet the nature of memory is not infinite. A punishment drawn out, repeated endlessly, loses its power. When a ruler strikes again and again, he is no longer feared but hated, and hatred breeds conspiracy. But when a ruler delivers one sharp blow, so calculated that it cannot be mistaken, its effect echoes for years. Men do not forget the moment when severity revealed itself. It shapes their behavior, curbs their rebellion, and disciplines their ambition. Imagine a city plagued by unrest. If the ruler delays action, if he hesitates, if he tries to appease with words, the unrest spreads like fire. The people grow bold in his weakness, and soon his authority collapses. But if he acts swiftly, cutting down the leaders of rebellion in a single, decisive strike, the fire is extinguished before it consumes the state. The punishment of a few becomes the lesson of many. This is the essence of calculated severity. Punishment must be rare, but when it comes, it must be absolute. The ruler does not strike to vent his anger, nor to satisfy his pride, but to preserve order. The blow must not be reckless, but deliberate. It must be aimed at the right target, at the right moment, with the right intensity. To punish lightly invites defiance. To punish excessively invites hatred. But to punish with balance, that is mastery. Men live more securely under a ruler they respect than under one they pity. Respect is born not from endless acts of mercy, but from the certainty that disobedience carries consequence. When the ruler punishes swiftly, he creates a rhythm of discipline. The people learn that rebellion is not tolerated, that betrayal is not forgiven, that treachery has only one outcome. And so they govern themselves, fearing the severity they know will follow disobedience. Consider the commander of an army. If he allows his soldiers to desert without consequence, soon his army dissolves. If he punishes too often, morale shatters and resentment festers. But if he punishes one deserter publicly and decisively, the entire army understands that discipline is not negotiable. One man's punishment becomes the foundation of order for thousands. Severity, when calculated, transforms fear into loyalty and chaos into stability. Yet a ruler must never allow punishment to appear as cruelty for its own sake. To punish without reason breeds hatred, and hatred is the seed of rebellion. Severity must be seen as necessary, not arbitrary. It must be clear to all that the punishment was not the whim of a tyrant, but the judgment of a ruler who values order above indulgence. When severity is justified, it is respected, even by those who suffer under it. Swift punishment is more effective than delayed justice. A ruler who hesitates allows conspiracies to grow, allows rumors to spread, allows courage to swell in the hearts of his enemies. But when punishment is immediate, it shatters hope before it has time to rise. Delay breeds defiance. Speed crushes it. The moment disobedience is discovered, it must be addressed, for hesitation is the mother of rebellion. The ruler must also know the art of timing. Severity delivered too soon may appear unjust, and too late may appear weak. But delivered at the moment when rebellion shows its face, it becomes a lesson engraved into the memory of all who witness it. The people understand that the ruler does not punish from impulse, but from necessity. They understand that his severity is not cruelty, but law. Severity, therefore, must never be squandered. A ruler who punishes for trivial matters diminishes the power of his own strike. The people will see him as petty, and his severity will lose its force. But when he reserves punishment for grave offenses, when he punishes only when order itself is at risk, his severity becomes sacred, untouchable, unforgettable. One decisive punishment, delivered with precision, secures obedience longer than 100 acts of mercy. Fear born from severity is not easily erased. Mercy may be forgotten in days, but the memory of punishment shapes men's behavior for years. That is why severity must be calculated, why it must be wielded sparingly but with devastating effect. Power is never secured by affection alone. Love may warm the heart, but it does not bind the will. A ruler who depends on love believes that sentiment will hold men loyal, yet sentiment is fragile. It shifts with fortune, it falters in hardship, and it disappears in the shadow of fear. but fear itself does not falter. Fear anchors obedience, for it is rooted not in choice but in necessity. Where love can be withdrawn, fear cannot. Men serve their own interests first. They will love you when it suits them, praise you when it costs them nothing, follow you when the road is easy. But the moment hardship arrives, love abandons its object. Gratitude evaporates, loyalty crumbles, and the ruler who built his power on sentiment finds himself deserted. Fear, however, holds even when fortune turns. Fear is not a gift men offer, but a chain you place around them. It ensures their obedience not because they wish it, but because they dare not do otherwise. Think of the merchant in the marketplace. He loves the ruler when taxes are light, when prosperity flows, when trade is free. But when hardship comes, when the ruler demands sacrifice, his love cools into resentment. Will love keep him loyal? No, he will turn to another. He will plot. He will betray. But fear of consequence, fear of punishment, fear of ruin, these keep him obedient when affection fails. Fear ensures loyalty through necessity. The same is true of soldiers. They may cheer their commander in victory. They may love him when spoils are plentiful. But in defeat, in hunger, in cold, does love keep them in formation? No. What binds them to discipline is fear, fear of punishment, fear of dishonor, fear of consequences more dreadful than the enemy's sword. Without fear, no army endures. With it, even the weakest force becomes strong. A ruler must therefore understand that fear is the bedrock of stability. Men may rebel against a ruler they once loved, but they will not so easily rebel against one they fear. Love tempts betrayal because it carries no consequence. Fear prevents it because the price of disobedience is too high. Fear is the invisible guard at every gate, the silent soldier standing watch when the ruler cannot. It ensures loyalty not through sentiment, but through necessity. And yet, the ruler must wield fear with wisdom. To be feared is strength, but to be hated is poison. Hatred breeds plots. Hatred creates enemies within your very court. Hatred drives men to act not from necessity, but from desperation. Fear must be sharpened like a blade, but never allowed to cut so deep that it turns to hatred. A ruler must inspire respect alongside fear, so that men obey not only because they dread punishment, but because they recognize his authority as just, decisive, and unyielding. This balance is delicate. If you rely too much on love, your power rests on sand. If you rely too much on cruelty, your power collapses into tyranny. But when you build your rule on fear that is tempered with prudence, you construct a fortress no storm can shake. For fear binds men not by choice but by necessity, and necessity does not betray. Consider the subjects of a realm. They may praise a generous ruler, but their praise fades. They may cheer a merciful ruler, but their cheer turns to demands. Love creates expectations the ruler can never satisfy, and when those expectations are broken, love transforms into resentment. Fear, however, creates no expectations. It is simple, it is enduring, it does not change. Men know what awaits them if they falter, and so they do not falter. This is why rulers, who have secured their thrones for generations, are those who understood the power of fear. Empires built on generosity have fallen. Dynasties founded on kindness have crumbled, but those forged through fear have endured. Fear is not a fleeting emotion. It is a constant presence, a shadow that lingers in the minds of all who live under it. It keeps conspiracies silent. It keeps ambitions checked. It keeps rebellion unborn. You may be tempted to believe that love unites men more deeply than fear, but you deceive yourself. Love unites only while it serves the interest of the one who loves. Fear unites because it leaves no alternative. Men who fear consequences do not ask themselves whether they wish to obey. They obey because they must. Fear makes loyalty unavoidable, inescapable, absolute. You have now heard the ruthless rule, the illusion of mercy, the art of calculated severity, and the truth that power rests more securely upon fear than upon love. These are not fantasies, not the dreams of poets, but the hard laws of power that govern rulers, armies, and nations. A ruler who chases love invites betrayal. A ruler who clings to mercy invites rebellion. A ruler who hesitates in punishment invites chaos. But the ruler who understands fear, who wields it with balance and precision, builds a power that no storm of fortune can overturn. For men are ungrateful, fickle, and self-serving. They will praise you today and betray you tomorrow, but fear does not betray. Fear endures, fear disciplines. Fear secures obedience when love and gratitude are long forgotten. Master this ruthless law, and your name will not merely be remembered. It will be obeyed, it will be respected, and above all, it will be feared.